Thanks for coming on today. I'd love to see some fire in the chat, some energy, right? We're hearing rates are going down, market's going to pick up. We're all excited. So a little bit about me. My name's Corinne. I'm a real estate agent from Orlando, Florida, but I actually want to take you guys way, way back to kind of where my story originally started, which was up north. I'm from Jersey, New York. But at a very, very young age, I kind of had to identify myself as a warrior. Why? Because I was diagnosed with a very, very rare tumor to the spinal cord. It's 1 in a million in children. And I had 3 surgeries at the ages of 4, 5, and 6, and spent pretty much my whole childhood in hospitals, right? So had to have that sink or swim mentality at a really, really young age. And then in my early 20s, I was actually diagnosed with cancer. So I've had a very extensive medical background, and by the grace of God, everything is good now, right? But that was my story. That's how I grew up. I was given kind of every reason why you shouldn't be here, you shouldn't be in this chair, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing, but I did it anyways. So I went to college to be a criminal justice major, which obviously did not end up doing, but I do like to say we do fight crime in real estate, right? And then when I got out of college, I knew I wanted to start a job. So I actually got involved in homeowners insurance and did that for about 2.5 years. And at that time, my boss at that time basically said, hey, I'm not giving you leads. You need to find them yourself. And I'm like, well, how the hell do I get leads? And so you got to pick up the phone and call. So I was kind of given no choice but to start doing that. So I was cold calling realtors and lenders, asking them for their insurance business. And I did that for 2.5 years. And oh, thank you so much, MJ. And that is where I ended up seeing, okay, I got a skill set and being able to cultivate relationships over the phone. So at the time, my boss was like, hey, you'll do so much better in real estate. I'm going to push you off and get licensed and go have a great time. And I did that. And to say I had a beautiful start is actually the complete opposite of what happened. My start in real estate was not pretty. It took me 6 months to close my first real estate deal, right? And we all know you muted me, Ron. That's okay. We want to get that belief check, right? So I was hustling and grinding, trying to kind of figure it out. You know, my family was a little worried about, is she going to do it? What's going on? You know, I was that first person in my family to go off and take a commissions-based only job. So everyone thought I was crazy, but I did it anyways. I was not working a part-time job. I was just doing nothing besides calling. And my first real estate deal was pretty much the ugliest real estate deal anyone could ever think of. The person who now I'm sponsored under at EXP actually will get up on stage and talk about how I was like the worst agent he ever met. And I can't say he was wrong. I mean, I didn't put the closing date on the contract. I didn't get escrow in until 3 days before closing. I'd show up at the title company 3 days a week asking if we can close, and they would just keep telling me the same thing. Corinne, we need a package. I was like, well, tell me where to get this damn package from. I'll go to FedEx, UPS, like, where do we get the package? They're like, nope, that's not how this works. We need it from the lender. So it was just a horrible real estate deal. But again, every single reason I was given, don't succeed, fail. And I said, absolutely not. Failure is not an option. So closed my first deal and ended up making the switch over to the team that I'm a part of now at the Alliance Group at EXP in Orlando. And the last 5 years have been absolutely beautiful, but it did go like this. And that's what the first thing I like to say is real estate is not a straight line up. It's not a straight line sideways. This is real estate. So we all just need to kind of understand that's how that happens. So I actually grew to a top buyer's agent very, very fast. My first year post-COVID, I closed just under $20 million in real estate sales as a buyer's agent. So it was around 18.4 million, about 45 transactions. And, you know, I was over the moon. I was like, oh my God, this is great. Like, we're rich, like we made it, et cetera, et cetera. And then year following, you know, reality kind of slapped you in the face when interest rates, you know, took a turn and they went up. So my business went from that $20 million producer to a $10 million producer, and my income cut in half. And the biggest issue, guys, is when your income cuts in half, you usually have to supplement for the bigger bills you have now, right? So it was a very scary time for me. And I was once again in a position, do you continue to move forward or do you give up? Because it was a very scary time for me. So I was actually heading over to Vegas for a work trip and was put on the wrong flight. Like, I know I booked my flight with my business partner. And then when we're at the connecting flight, he was like, oh, what are we going to do when we land at 5? I'm like, what are you talking about? We land at 8. And then we ended up figuring out we're not on the same flight. I'm frustrated. I'm mad. I'm like, why is this happening to me? Why me? Why me? You know, victim mentality. Get on the plane, and I'm sitting down next to the person who I ended up hiring as my coach. So my coach, his name is Haas Pratt. I was sitting next to him on a plane I was not meant to be on. Again, the universe will always work in your favor, right? So I ended up hiring him because he sat there and told me I took 30 listings in 30 days and I didn't know listings. I only knew buyers. And he said, I cold called, I did this, this, and this, and this. I threw that man my credit card so fast, even though I didn't have the money to do that, even though I wasn't financially in the position to make that big of an investment. And I'll be super straightforward with you guys. I paid $10,000 to get coaching, right? That's a lot of money to just go in at once. But I had, at that time, failure was not an option and I had no choice. So I gave that man my credit card. I went all in on coaching and I learned how to call, cultivate, and close sellers and quit calling buyers cold turkey from that moment on. So I did something most people don't ever want to do in their business, which is to go from 0 to 100 real quick, right? So I didn't inch into calling sellers. I didn't kind of stay in my safe boat because I was scared to go to the next part, right? I quit and I went straight into listings. So in 2023, I took over 40 listings. That was first year after coaching and into it. And I closed just under $25 million in sales as a listing agent. And biggest key factors I want you guys to know about doing that type of production is, you're building financial freedom, but I got a lot more of my time back. I was able to leverage my business. And instead of being a slave to my business, I was now a CEO of my business. So to give you guys some context, and I'm going to leave the last 10 minutes or so open for some Q&A. I cold call expired sellers, for sale by owners, and geo farming leads. So I'm specifically targeting 3 main sources of sellers. A seller isn't just always Sphere, right? But we're going to take that in too. And what I do is I have a daily schedule. I know what to do when I wake up from what I need to do when I go to bed. I actually do not work weekends anymore. And this year alone, I've already taken over close to 40 listings. And I'm continuing to just stack listings, especially as we're going into this transition with the NAR lawsuit, right? Which I know a lot of us have a lot of questions on and things of that sort. And like I said, I'm a CEO of my business. I have systems in place and I'm super excited to share with you guys kind of what that daily schedule looks like, go over questions that you guys have. Because if you're in that same pain boat where you're like, hey, I'm working with buyers or my business is not outbound or I'm feeling a little bit kind of just under the weather of what we're going through, just out there in the world with all the negativity, I'm here to provide you a solution, right? So how many people in here, just so I know, because I want to make sure everyone's alive in here, are buyers agents, like just only buyers? I see one hand. We got any other hands? Feel free to put hands in the chat. Come on, guys. I know everyone's alive in here. I need to see. What's up, Omar? Anyone else? Come on. I need to see you guys are alive. I'm going to be teaching you something I spent a lot of money on. I'm going to be teaching you guys in here for free. So I really want to make sure you guys are involved. 70,
A lot of us in the office are both.
Both? Okay, perfect. So obviously, I think the biggest thing right now, which is very beautiful, is we're kind of in this little bit of a winter market right now where I know we're all feeling it, guys. We're kind of all in like, what the heck is going on mode, which we've been in that mode before. You just might not remember it. We were in the same mode in 2022, and then we had a pickup in 2023. So we're about to go into the spring. So first and foremost, to start this transition, guys, it really starts with who you are as a person within. Let me start by saying that. You can't perfect the business until you perfect the person. So when I made that transition from a buyer's agent to a listing agent, I had to make a lot of changes in my personal life, right? I had to start getting up before 6 a.m. I had to start making sure my mornings were about me and not about work. How many people wake up and just go straight to work? Because I'm going to let y'all know, stop that now. Like, don't do it again. Tomorrow, we're not doing that. Because I did that my whole business up until I made that switch. And you can't wake up and just go into work. You're going to literally drive yourself crazy. You got to make that morning about you. And here's why. When you fill your cup up first, you're able to then fill up the cup of others. It's like a phone. If you don't charge your phone at night, what happens in the morning? You wake up with a dead phone. We don't want to be dead phones. So I wake up in the morning. What could we do in the morning, right? If you want to wake up at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., take 30 minutes for yourself. I actually personally take a few hours in the morning before I start my calls. I write in a gratitude journal. I'm working out. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm making it all about Corinne. Then what happens, guys, and this is something I'm actually teaching you how to make the perfect schedule. So we know when we wake up, we know what we're doing first. We're pouring into our cup first. Because guess what happens at 6 a.m.? Nothing. No one's complaining about inspections. No one's talking about clear to closes. No one's doing appraisal, like reviews, like nothing's happening. So let's take that time for us. And then next, what we're going to do for just 3 hours a day, guys, if you're not doing it already, I'm only asking you to do 3 hours, not 8 hours. This is a very, very, very doable business. 3 hours a day, you're going to take control of your business and you're going to do what's called outbound prospecting techniques. So what can you do? And what I'm going to do is be able to share actually everyone who came onto this call today. I'm actually going to give you guys my email. And if you actually email, and please write this down. If you email me the word action, I'm going to send you guys some exclusive live calls that I actually send to my coaching clients, but I'll actually send to you. Let me put my email in the chat so you can save it. But I'm also going to send you my coaching calls, but I'm also going to send you over the system that I'm currently using to be able to have leads to call daily. So I think the scariest thing for agents is you wake up and you're like, what do I do? Right? We're unemployed. We wake up daily unemployed. So now we actually start our business with ourselves first. We have structure. We pour it into our cup, and then we get into our calls. So I am outbound prospecting from 9 to noon. So once again, not dealing with inspections, not dealing with appraisals, not dealing with the buyer, like no one. I'm not even talking to my mom during those 3 hours. That is only for your outbound prospecting. Guys, if you don't have a schedule for outbound prospecting, at least a minimum of 5 days a week, you're going to do what the flyer says and this business is going to die. You have to have a way that you're reaching out to consumers and you are setting qualified appointments to sit with the consumer 5 days a week if you can, face to face, eyeball to eyeball. This is how you structure out a business where you're no longer worried about the phone ringing into you. You're reaching out to it and you're able to scale. So 9 to noon, we know what we're doing. We're only calling. I personally choose to call sellers, but for those people who want to implement what I'm doing, I'll send you the email after. And for those of you who have a great sphere of influence, like take that time to just call your lead source for 3 hours. Minus sellers, which I know many of you are on here because you want to learn how to do the same thing. But let's say you got a great sphere. Let's say you farm a great neighborhood. Let's say that you have a whole book of business you've closed and you're calling like all your past clients or and future clients. 3 hours. Then look at the beautiful thing. At noon, your day is done if you really wanted it to be. What can you do the rest of the day? That's when we're at appointments, right? That's when we're running CMAs, running comps. That's when we're dealing with someone blowing up your phone over a damn inspection, because I know that happens. That's when you're dealing with everything else real estate. And I promise you can wait till after 12. But now what you did is you leveraged high leverage activities and you did the things we usually don't want to do the most first. So at noon, you feel peace. You can continue on with the rest of your day. I also like to say I believe that you have to run a business in an 80-20 rule, right? You need to have 80% is attainable, it's doable, it's reasonable. I never believe in living your business at 100% because it's not realistic. So if you're committed to that 5 days a week of doing this structure and you leave that other 20% for those family emergencies that pop up, those days you're unmotivated, and for us, some people on here who like to have a drink or two, those days you're just not feeling good, like yeah, you did it, right? You had the 80-20 rule. So basically in regards to calling sellers, you're spending that 3 hours in the morning contacting consumers. And my goal is to get one listing appointment every single day. That's my goal. And just to give you guys perspective, the system I use is RedX. I have a dialer in RedX and I'm contacting up to 200 dials to get one listing appointment. I want to tell you guys these real life numbers because I think people think I contact 10 people and that's it. It's work, but it's not as much work as you think. You got a dialer, you have the system, you know the times to call, you know the days to call, you're running a full-fledged business. And so now at the appointment, how are we contacting sellers? How are we closing sellers? The thing about sellers, guys, it's all about questions. So whenever I'm speaking to these types of sellers, we are asking them the 3 main things we need to ask. So for example, for expired sellers, what I love about expireds personally is I'm contacting lead sources of people who've already tried to sell and fail. Let that be an aha. When you're contacting expireds, when you're contacting for sale by owners, you're contacting people who are either trying to sell on their own or who've tried to sell and fail. They've already waved the white flag, letting you know they're interested in selling their home. That's the hottest smoking lead that you could get out here, right? So the reason I love expireds is that's just been personally my niche. So I encourage you both to, like you all to understand with the skip trace system, you have the ability to do both and you figure out which one is good, but the processes and systems don't change. We're figuring out their why, right? The 6 reasons why people buy and sell do not change in this matter. I love you. I hate you. We're having kids, death, job promotion, job demotion. The 6 reasons why people buy and sell don't change. So now more than ever, guys, we need to be more human more often, and we need to dig deeper on someone's why, because we don't have the time to just take any listing, and we don't have the time to just list any home. We need to list homes that sell, because if you list, you last. And if you sell, you last longer, right? So in regards to me getting to the appointment, you know, I come and provide solutions. So biggest aha I could give you guys today is create a plan that you could sit down in a seller's living room and let them know, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, this is what I do differently to sell homes twice as fast with the most amount of money. What does that marketing plan look like, right? Because once we connected with the client, we know their why, we know they want to sell. Now we got to go sit down in person with them. I recommend guys sitting in 5 living rooms per week. So we know 200 dials a day gets you 1 listing appointment. And from 1 listing appointment, you want to sit in 5 living rooms a week. If you sit in 5 living rooms a week times 4 weeks, that's 20 sellers. How are you telling me you didn't convert at least 5 listings? It's a numbers game. Biggest reason why this doesn't work, guys, is you just don't take action. So what the thing about action is something that's controllable. I can't control the outcome. I can't control the market. I can't control who wins the damn election. I can't control any of that, but I can control the action steps that I take every single day. Omar, I think you asked me a question. Let me just make sure in the chat. How do you determine what listing is worth your time and energy? Questions. Find out the answer. Why are they looking to sell? Is it one of the 6 reasons why? Or are they just openly admitting that, oh, I just wanted to see if it would get the price that I wanted? How realistic are they to price? How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it to reach their goal? Right? I love knowing on a scale of 1 to 10 how important someone's goal is, because if it's a 10, they're still ready to sell, right? And now you have your leverage on how you're going to get them, put them in a position to make a decision. So where are we at?
Corinne, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So one of the things I want you to go back because I know that you're a coach and you're working with a lot of agents who list. And you mentioned obviously when you were at the lowest point and you kind of gave your credit card and you were ready to take that action. Outbound calling is the kryptonite in this industry for the agents who are looking for another way. That's not my thing. I don't do outbound. I hate rejection. So when you're coaching your clients, what do you say to them that you're mentioning this system, the outbound system is not, because most of the people are getting inbound. They might be on a flex team. They might be, and they're afraid of the outbound. How do you get them to move past that? Is that something that is, if it's not in them, they're not going to do it? Or there's something that you can give them that say, all right, let me think of it. I'm ready to do the outbound.
Absolutely. Well, let's take it back to the same thing I just said. When we want to list someone's house, we got to figure out their why. You want to become a successful agent, we got to figure out your why too. So personal development is extremely important. If it's not a muscle you're working on every single day, it's going to be a really, really long journey for you. So guys, reading books, listening to podcasts, surrounding yourself with people who are having high level conversations. You are a factor of the top 5 people you spend the most amount of time with, right? So I just choose to sit at the winner's table. So people who connect with me, and same thing for Ron, is that the way I look at coaching is an investment in myself, right? So each year I'm actually hiring a new version of a coach and spending actually that same amount of money to invest back into myself. It's almost funny. It's like once you put it out there that, hey, this is the money I'm spending on myself, it's almost like the universe kind of, gives it back to you tenfold. So you got to figure out your why. And an exercise I actually can encourage you guys to do that might actually sound silly, but really it's very effective because I believe in visualization, hence the whiteboard I have right behind me. You got to draw a vehicle. And let's talk about whatever car you want, not electric though, because I'm going to need you to have some fuel in the tank, but draw a vehicle and you're sitting in it, right? Where's that vehicle going to? What's your why? Write that out. Is it for your kids? Is it for your future kids? Is it just because of you? Is it for your family? Is it because of, what's the reason? And then on the back end of the vehicle, the fuel is everything that's you've considered a fit there. Divorce, dealing with a bad death, toxic relationship, high school bullies. What's that fuel? Draw that out, put that in front of you. And I want you to be that reminder when you're scared to pick up the phone, when you're hesitant on making that call on why you're doing this, because the reason you're not doing it is you don't know your why. Another thing is too about the phones is that what actually makes me laugh about people who are scared to get on the phones is I ask them, what are you scared of? Oh, I'm scared of rejection. I literally tell them the R in real estate stands for rejection. So you're going to get rejected. You truly have to get over it, right? That's like a heart surgeon saying, I'm scared of hearts. You're going to have to get over it. You're a heart surgeon. You're a realtor. You're going to deal with rejection. But when you go through getting rejected over and over and over again, you grow this beautiful thing called thick skin. And you also start to realize that you are the law of attraction. Who you are and who you want to be is exactly what you're going to attract. And so when I'm making these calls, guys, I go into my call sessions. Again, I poured my cup up. I got my energy up. I got my peak state up. I got myself right. And that's why the call sessions go so much better, because I got myself where I needed to be at the highest level to be able to serve consumers. And so I tell myself every day, hey, who I'm meant to help, bring them to me. Let me connect with them. And then if I don't connect with someone that day, my mindset is I just wasn't meant to help someone that day. I'm going to try again tomorrow. It's all about.
Well, let me ask you, yeah. And here's the thing. So, cause I hear what you're saying too. And because who you're around is going to dictate kind of like some of your action steps. So for an example, if you're saying, Ron, I'm blocking out 3 hours, I'm going to make 200 dials, and I go into my call day with my team, and then I pull up my laptop, I get my little drink, and then I just kind of flip around my computer. I'm not really dialing anybody. I'm just looking at my follow-up. All I'm doing is I'm just doing my follow-up. So if you're around a true dialer, and that somebody is they're not, all you hear them, they locked in, and it's just next. How do you suggest people get around those people or become that person and people come around you? Because I don't want to be around anyone who's just playing on the computer and talking to their mom and their sister, their brother, and they're not focused on those 3 hours. How do I become that person? Or how do I find a person that I can be around so I can match with their energy and we're just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth?
It's always good to find an accountability partner first and foremost, whatever organization you're a part of. I'm sure there's plenty of people who want accountability with you, right? And you have to structure that. How many days a week am I going to have an accountability partner? And then also, Ron, to add to that, obviously, who's in your office. But more importantly, it's actually first kind of going and reverse engineering. It's like trimming the dead fat first and giving room for those good people. So let's go back to the draw board, literal draw board, an avatar. I actually have my avatar seller. My avatar seller literally says, will not cuss me out on the phone, because if you cuss me out on the phone, I don't want to work with you. Like, I don't like your energy. I don't want to work with you. I don't need to sell your house. You got a badass attitude, take it elsewhere. Right. But if you actually understand who your avatar accountability partner is, who's the type of people you want to surround yourself with, you actually write that down. I want to be with people who are ambitious. I want to be with people who are in rooms talking about how to make $1 million. I want to be with people who don't do substance abuse, right? Like, if you actually write that down, you're going to start slowly seeing those things kind of come in, right? And the beautiful thing about coaching programs is that when you hire a coach or you go into coaching programs, a lot of those people are also in that same room for that same reason. So you have something that's relatable for. You got to sit in different rooms. No offense.
And
sorry.
Somebody asked a question, what time frame do you make the calls? And I think you already mentioned that, from 9 to 12. And
9 to 12, people, 9 to noon.
You got another one from Alberto.
When you are talking with sellers either over the phone or in person, and they ask what makes you different. Okay. So guys, I let them know my solutions. My solution is my marketing plan. So that's where I let you guys know after this call, right? If you make a list, I encourage you guys, make a list of 20 things specifically you can do different. For example, and I'll give you this little aha. Instead of saying we do open houses, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we do these thing called go live systems where we actually exclusively list a property on a Friday, but don't allow the first showing until that Saturday at the go live open house. We go live on Facebook, we get flyers, we tell the neighbors, we do all this. This is our go live solution. It's an open house. I just made it sound pretty, right? So write down a list of top 20 things. Guys, it's not going to be hard to list 20. You already know what you need to do to get a house on the market. You already know you have pre-marketing strategies. You already know you do open houses. You already know you have really nice listing descriptions. You already know you organize photos in a certain way. You already know that you put it in-house into the office. You know all these things. Write it down. And then if you have a specific brand, like Ron, if you were like Ron's marketing plan, right? If you guys have a specific brand or a specific team you're on, label it, and now you got a plan. And why is that plan so important? I promise you, you made it up. No one else has it. So when you sit down in a living room with the seller, you can easily and truthfully say, I have a marketing plan that gets homes sold twice as fast for the most amount of money, and no other agent has it because I literally made this up and it's been a proven, repeatable process, right? Next things next is I personally have an easy exit listing agreement. That is something that all of y'all can have access to. I'd recommend whatever state you guys are all in to talk to your brokerage about what easy exit listing solution documentation you can draft up. You can have an attorney review it. I sit in living rooms letting people know that I am not obligated to work with them. They're not obligated to work with me. If I don't perform, they have an out. And people love hearing they have an out, right? Especially with expireds and for sale by owners who are getting kind of drafted by 7 to 10 realtors at one time that are getting interviewed. You got to find ways to stand out. And I have a communication guarantee. So I let them know that if I don't call them at least once a week, they could fire me for any reason. So those 3 solutions alone, guys, are a game changer because you can sit in a living room and actually have a way that you stand out. No offense, a seller doesn't give a crap about your TikTok channel. They don't care about your Instagram. They don't care about that. They care about what you're going to do differently to sell their home. They don't care about all the other homes you've sold either. Being a top producer doesn't mean anything either. They care about you having a solution to sell their home. You have a solution to get them more money. You have a solution to help them reach their goal.
Got it. So Corinne, let's say you start at 9, and I know that you mentioned that you're gonna, if they put in the word action, that you're gonna send them some of your recordings. Typically, what is your first, I guess, sentence or question when you get someone on the phone? And if you want to go through each of your particular sellers, because you mentioned 2 or 3 of them that you like to talk to, what do you normally say when you just get on the phone?
So let's do an example of an expired. First thing I'll ask is, hey, is this the owner of 123 Main Street, right? I want to make sure I'm talking to the right person. If they say yes, sir, listen, I see your property. Looks like it's either off the market or it's sold. What's going on, right? I don't go, oh, I see your property expired. No, I'm going in like a detective. I'm going in getting curious. So when I ask them that pivotal question, is this property off market or did it sell? They'll tell me the answer. No, it didn't sell. Why? Like I'm actually looking at this. It looks like it's got like really good photos. It looks like an awesome property. I'm really confused. Why didn't this sell? Right? Therefore, all those little objections. You're the 50th person that's called me. You're this, you're that. I disregard all of them. I go straight into my questions. Why didn't it sell? Why didn't it sell? Why didn't it sell? Why didn't it sell? Because guys, believe it or not, when you're asking questions, you're interviewing the seller to see if that's a listing you want to take. Because if they're asking, well, it didn't sell because I wanted a price at $100,000 over asking price and I know I can get my price. Nope. Next, bye, right? Like we don't need to work with unmotivated people in today's market. 2021, sure, anyone could have done that, right? But know your market. So I'm asking them, how many offers did you get? How many showings did you have? How do you feel you were priced for the market, right? And asking all those questions pre-qualifies that seller and gives you the details you need to know so you can better help understand, can I be a solution for these people, right? And so in the mix of that call, when I'm asking them all these questions, I've gotten a lot of my answers. And more importantly, I ask, well, why are you selling? You have to sell this house? Guys, I like to make jokes, but I like to act mad confused. Like I act so confused on these calls. They start to get confused. We're confused together. We bonded, right? Because they're confused, I'm confused. But they're opening up because I'm not going in it pitching them. I'm not going in it being a salesperson. I'm going in it being human. So they start to open up, calls going well. And then I let them know, like, hey, if you could still reach your goal of moving to Texas, of moving to California, of downsizing, like, because we know the why. Is that still something you like to do? Yeah, no, I would, right? Then we go in for the close. So my structure of my call, guys, and you can write this down, is hi, why, and then buy. So hi, hey, is this property off market? Did it sell? How many offers? How many showings? Why? Why are you selling? And then buy is the close. So the close is, as you say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I know this sounds like a little bit of a strange niche, but my specialty is selling homes that agents fail to sell the first time. Why? I created this very unique marketing plan, sells homes twice as fast for the most amount of money, and I have an easy exit listing solution. So I'm going to do my market analysis on this property because I'd love to tell you why I think this home didn't sell. I'd love to give you my honest opinion of if your goal is still possible. I'll actually be in the neighborhood this afternoon at 5 p.m. Can I stop by for 30 minutes just to show you this marketing plan, show you my easy exit listing agreement, show you the market analysis, and give you a real live, truthful answer? Because I don't work with everyone. That's another tagline you guys could take is I let them know, be like, if I don't think I could sell your home, I'm not going to waste your time. And guys, the way you hear me talking, my tone, this is how I talk to people. I don't talk to people salesy. I talk to them like a human. I'm just real with them. Like, if I don't think I could sell your home, I'm not going to waste your time because your time's valuable. My time's also valuable, right? And they love hearing that. They're like, oh, she's not just trying to work with me. Like she's genuinely trying to help me, right? And I'm sure you guys can kind of hear that in my pitch. And the buy is you got to set an appointment. And guys, the beautiful thing about the 21st century is that we can set in-person appointments. We could set phone call appointments. We could set Zoom appointments. Just set the damn appointment. If you don't ask, you're not going to get it. Because if you don't ask, someone else is. And what's the worst case? They say no, on to the next. You'll get the next one, right? Because I promise you, if you get 99 no's, you're one step closer to getting that yes. But once you actually take the action and do this so consistently, like if you were trying to grow some biceps and you did 20 reps a day, 5 days a week, right? You might not get it on the first day, but you might get it on the 5th day. It's the same mentality. And when I sit down at that appointment, I show them everything. I show them the comps. I show them how I can get them to reach their goal. I remind them of their why. And I have them sign listing documentation via Zoom or in person. Believe it or not, guys, I've closed a lot of listing appointments on phones and via Zoom. And guess what? It didn't start when I just did one. I had to consistently build that muscle and I had to consistently fail. I know we might be hearing all the numbers, 25 million, 40 listings, 34 listings this year, but you want to know how many times I failed? It was way more than that. But the more I failed, the more I had success.
Wow, Corinne. So I want to go back. So you mentioned the 200 dials, right? Is there a conversation goal that you want to hit to as well, or you just use the dial goal?
So realistically, I would say if you hit 200 dials, you're going to talk to 3 to 4 qualified sellers, sometimes even 2 guys. The numbers are that low, but my goal, Ron, is to set 1 listing appointment per day.
And what do you deem as a qualified seller?
Someone who's confirmed they're the owner of the property, someone who's given me their why, and someone who's confirmed they're not working with their last agent.
Got it. Got it. And so in your system and in your strategy, I'm assuming some of them that you might not set the appointment with. So if you're talking to 3 to 4 and that one you do get in the living room and those other 2, you got to follow up. What's your follow-up system with them? Or where did you put them? You use a CRM system? What's that look like?
So guys, what I love about the system, and for those of you who email me, like I said, you'll get the live call, you'll get access to the system, and can review it and I can go over any questions, but I love it RedX because it has a version of folders. So I actually will put people in like follow-up folders. And what I love, guys, is dedicate 1 day a week, follow-up Fridays. Follow-up Fridays, can't forget it. It's easy. So you just got to do that at a minimum once a week. But I also like to have a top 3. So a top 3 is sellers that I want to list their house. So I know my top 3 every Monday. Make sure you guys write this down because it's very important to start implementing. When you have a top 3, you don't actually save it for the follow-up Fridays. The follow-up Fridays are more for people who are 6 months and out. But if you know there's someone who's looking to make a move in the next 0 to 3 months, they're on my top 3. And they're getting called once a day, every other day. So what we do first is we do our new outbound business from 9 to noon. And then afternoon, maybe 12 to 1, we're dedicating that time to following up with our top 3 every day.
Good, good. And that's a strategy because I think sometimes, Corinne, people get confused with their outbound net new calls. It's like, oh, I'm going to start following up and start digging. Because once we start getting our folder filled, we forget the lead generation, the 200 dials, and it goes down to 150 dials, 100 dials, because now our folder's getting big and we want to kind of fiddle around with that. And staying consistent with those 200 dials I'm assuming that's the bread and butter of how this is going to make it successful for you, correct?
It's 100% the bread and butter. And what I love about implementing this is, guys, I took my first listing after coaching within 2 weeks. And once I saw how fast that was, I was like, well, damn, I'm going to do this and again, because listen, nothing's wrong with buyers. If you're ready to make a move, I was just showing a $1.8 million buyer a home yesterday. I'm not saying no to that, right? Nothing's wrong with buyers. They got the energy. If they're my avatar, I'm working with them, right? Even though I will say, once you get your point to a business, you can pick and choose what you take versus what you don't take. And that's a beautiful business to be in. But the thing is like I said in the beginning, you're going to either have a lot of time or a lot of money. And most of us start with a lot of time and start with less money. So you need to dedicate going all in to that structure. 200 calls a day, 5 days a week, follow-up Fridays, following up with your top 3 weekly, doing an open house and calls on Saturday, 1 day off a week. Do not forget that, guys. Please do not work 7 days a week. Don't do that. Don't make that mistake. I made that mistake and I burnt out quick. 1 day off per week minimum. And most of us take our Sundays off, right? Sundays or Saturdays, whichever one. But what I will say is that once you get really, really busy where you have a lot of listings, yeah, 5 day a week, 200 dial calls don't happen every day. And that's okay. That's where this wave comes in. So just to be transparent, guys, where I'm at in my business, now I productively call 2 days a week. Why? I have my rest of my week filled in with other things now. Right. So, but we had to start with this model first to get to the model I'm at now. So sorry, Ron, since we're getting to the last 15 minutes or so, when did you want to open up Q&A?
Yeah, we can open up Q&A right now. And I wanted you to touch one more thing because I think that this is real critical. Because you mentioned in the beginning you were doing 200 dials and then you were getting those 3 to 4 and you were kind of building your database because that's the main thing. What would you say? What size was your database look like when you start getting consistent? Getting in those living rooms 5 times a week? Was your database now like 100 in your folder and you were kind of doing that follow-up, but still putting your 200 dials in? What did your database look like?
Well, when I started, my database was none. So let me start there. So I really started from scratch, but it grew relatively quick. That's why I like this side of the business because it grows a lot faster. Remember, I told you it took me 6 months to close my first buyer deal. It took me 2 weeks to get my first listing. That aha right there was the reason I decided to do this business over another. And I stayed consistent with that. So I remember quickly after I took my second listing, I think I took 5 listings within my first month, right? So here's another goal, guys. We know the 200 dials a day, the 5 days a week, the 3 hours a day, the 1 listing appointment a day. Make it your goal. If I was coaching my brand new agents, is to get 3 listings a month with this system and process. So you could see if you actually reverse engineer the numbers, if you do 200 dials a day and you're sitting in 1 living room per day, 5 days a week, how it's literally impossible not to get 3 listings. Why? Because you might have 5, 10, 15 appointments. And if you get 3, that's great. Obviously, we'd want to have a higher closing ratio, but again, get 3. How do you get 3? You get in front of more consumers. You actually get no's more, because if you get more no's, you get closer to yeses. But let's open it up to Q&A.
Yep.
And then I'll be able to go over questions. Omar, you asked me, how do you get to prevent your mindset getting negative when you have a bad result? And Omar, I know you and I have talked about this a lot. This is the biggest lesson I've ever learned. You control your own suffering. Let me repeat myself. You control your own suffering. You're either going to choose to suffer or you're not. I just personally choose not to. When I was told I had cancer at 22 years old, I chose not to suffer. When I was in hospitals growing up, I didn't know what I was choosing at the time, but I guess I just chose not to suffer. So that's just a choice that I've decided to make. And you guys, no offense, you don't have to go through what I went through to make that same choice. It just starts today. So another things to help though, Omar, is, are you working out daily? Are you walking in nature? Are you spending time with people or having positive conversations? How often are you watching the news? How often are you scrolling through social media? What books are you reading? All those personal development things that you could do in little micro doses every single day daily will help peak your positivity. But one of my biggest things you guys can implement is a gratitude journal. Every day I wake up, I write 5 things down that I'm grateful for. And sometimes it's the same 5. but it's proven that when you feel gratitude, you cannot feel negativity. So that is the simplest way to answer how to not feel negativity.
Awesome. Awesome. Any other questions? Thanks, Omar. Appreciate you, man. Anybody from the office had any questions for Corinne?
And guys, I know I put my email, but I'm going to put it fresh on the list. Bear with me this week. I will get those calls and my link over to you, because for you guys.
Corinne, I have a couple questions. Let me get some questions for you.
Mhm.
So you joined the coaching session, and because I think that when people hear like yourself or me or somebody like role playing, and they're like you were doing, you were saying, hey, I do this, and it just comes out so smooth. And again, I know you were bad before you became good. Like, how often outside of getting on the phone, was the phone thing that made you better, or did you role play, practice with some, get back on the phone? Like, what was that development for you?
I practice with the real hard truth. I don't really, guys, I don't do role play too much. What I would say is helpful is have like a notepad next to you with like your top questions you should ask to remind yourself. But you'll learn this. You're gonna laugh at me. You're gonna learn this by failing, by doing this over and over and over again, and failing to the point where you learn how to do it the right way. So it all starts with taking action.
Got it. Got it. Just taking actions and getting started. Yeah, appreciate that. What was the other one? Awesome. Any other questions?
Guys, any other questions? Like I said, email me the word action, because that's what we're going to start doing as of today. We're switching the daily schedule. We're taking action. You're going to get exclusive live calls, and you're going to get access to my system. That is where I get all my sellers, a list of sellers daily. Guys, it's great.
Awesome. Well, Corinne, I appreciate you taking time out of your day, because I know you're super, super busy. But as we talked about lead generate or die, you have to decide on your lead generation strategy.
Mhm.
If this is the one you're going to use, that means once you start it, it's like social media. If you're going to you want to build those, you got to keep it going. So you can't stop this and go up and down, up and down. You heard Corinne was very, very specific and consistent on what she's going to do. So if this is one of your lead generation sources, please reach out to Corinne. She's very, very knowledgeable about this outbound strategy where a lot of agents are not going to do. So this might be an opportunity for you to dominate your market, because I promise you, more agents are going to run away from the outbound than they're going to run to the outbound. And so if you decide to run to the outbound and use this strategy, you will be that person in your market and be the go-to person in your market. Corinne, I'll let you get the last word in and take us out.
Awesome, guys. Well, last word in, but also kind of answering some of those questions, guys. This is the point that you're going to be able to make a decision today. Do I want to be an owner, CEO of my business, or do I want to continue to be a slave of my business? What needs to change starting today to be able to get me to be a CEO of my business tomorrow? What's my mindset need to be? Because we said mindset first, and then we can perfect the business, right? So today I'm going to give you access to being able to hear how I do a live call from start to finish, and also the system that I personally use, that I am still using to be able to get inbound seller leads on a daily basis. So guys, it all starts with taking action. It all starts with just making the decision to no longer suffer. And we're going into a really beautiful market where we're going to have a lot of opportunity, and a lot of the old agents are going to be gone. It's going to be less competition. So I appreciate everyone. You know what? You took action from being on this call today. Ron, it's funny we come back full circle, but thank you so much for having me on today. And guys, I'm going to leave my Instagram in here. If you guys want to stay connected with me on Instagram, make sure you send me that email. And then I'm wishing you guys nothing but the best of luck, okay?
All righty. Awesome, Corinne. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Talk to you soon. Take care, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.